We are thrilled to have you join us virtually today, Sunday, March 16th, as we gather to deliberate on the critical topic of climatic finance. As we embark on this important dialogue, let us remember that climate action demands significant financial investment. And most importantly, international cooperation is essential if our fight against climate change will succeed. Together, we can pave the way for sustainable solutions that will benefit generations to come. Tonight, we will focus on several key pointers for our discussion. Improving coherence and coordination. We will explore ways to enhance the coherence and the coordination in the delivery of climate change financing, which is effective collaboration. This is key. Number two, rationalizing the financial mechanism of the UNFCCC. This discussion will assist the conference of the parties in rationalizing the financial mechanisms that underpin the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. Number three, measuring, reporting, and verifying support. We will delve into the importance of measuring, reporting, and verifying the support provided to developing countries, ensuring transparency and accountability in climate finance. Four, transitioning to clean, renewable energy. Financing this complex transition to clean, renewable energy is crucial. We will discuss innovative funding solutions that countries are already doing and how international cooperation can definitely empower nations to move away from fossil fuels. Five, tracking social and economic impacts. Six, building resilience. This is very, very important to climate shocks, must be a priority. We will discuss strategies to strengthen the adaptive capacity of communities and ecosystems, ensuring that they're better prepared for the challenges ahead. And we know we will have challenges ahead. As we embark on these discussions, I encourage each one of you to really think about what you are doing in your country and really remember that it's not only our voice that we need, but action. This is why at IIU we foster education. We believe that education is the pillar to climate change. In IIU, we believe that education is the pillar to any sustainable change. International Internship University is a leading virtual education system and a global brand confederation, which is the most valuable and trusted worldwide and well-reputed in delivering innovative programs. We are a very proud sponsor and partner in this endeavor. In a short span of time, IIU has spread its wings in 195 countries and in 6 continents. Under the strong leadership of its visionary founder, Mr. Piyush Pandit, a committed and inspiring social activist who believes that education should be for all. And now it is my honor to introduce the convener of this conference, Dr. Srividya Sukumar, a truly amazing educationist, coach, and a remarkable professional. Her dedication to climate change and action and her expertise in this field inspire us all. Thank you again for being here, and welcome again to the podium, Dr. Sukumar.
Thank you, Dr. Virginia. That was a wonderful start indeed, as usual. So not to miss the mention that she has been a star everywhere, every week as such, with a brilliant smile and that small insight that's shared every week. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful start indeed. So as Dr. Virginia was mentioning, today we are gathered here to talk on climatic finance. And definitely, and when we, whether we know about climatic finance or not, definitely the word finance really hits us and immediately we try to catch our pockets. Yes, that should be the thing. So as we do always, when we talk about climatic finance, the pockets that we need to hold is the country's pockets. The treasury of the country is to be held very tight such that we are able to divert the amount or the funds towards the right cause or for the right cause. Why? Because the word climatic finance refers to all the financial flows addressing the causes and the consequences of the climatic change. So this is what is the whole thing it's all about, that we are going to talk one after the other. On that note, may I take this opportunity to welcome all our community partners, starting from GSFN Global Sustainable Futures. Warm welcome to you, everybody who is representing GSFN, IIU International Internship University. Thank you, Dr. Virginia. Thank you, Ms. Mona. Thank you so much. And Amity University, Dubai. Thank you so much. Thanks to Dr. Shukla and also Dr. Iyer, who has joined us on this platform. Welcome, sir. A warm welcome to you. Thank you so much. Warm welcome to IGEN, the Institution of Green Engineers, and the people who have joined. Dr. Ma'am, okay, again, I don't want to forget your name. So, ma'am is joined from Dr. MGR Education Institute. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for joining us. Dr. Suchitra? No. Thank you. And people who have joined from representation from Good Vision Seva Trust, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. And Sairam Engineering College, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. SRM Engineering College and the SRM Group, thank you. Thanks for joining us. Sri Ishwara College of Engineering, thank you. Thanks for joining us. St. Xavier's College of Engineering, thank you. Thank you once again. Ishwari College of Engineering, thank you. Thanks for joining us. JNN Institute of Engineering, thanks for joining us. Gracious Legacy Foundation, thank you. Thanks for joining us. And also Global Universal Human Values. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Green Brigade, representation from Green Brigade. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. And Global Peace and Sustainable Futures. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to all our community partners and the eminent speakers who have joined us today representing these organizations. Thank you. Dr. Rajeshwari, thank you. I didn't miss you in the mention. Thanks for joining us from Dr. MGR Institute of Engineering. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. So coming back to our today's topic, the hot rob, what is the concept of climatic finance? As we know, it refers to the local, national, and the transnational financing, which is drawn from the public, private, and the alternative sources of financing that seeks to support mitigation and adaptation actions that will address climatic change. Hope everybody will agree with me on that. So if you ask me, what is an example of the climatic finance? It's basically about, we can say to make a mention that green bonds, there are different kinds of bonds which are being there. The green bonds between the kind of debt issued by the public and the private institution, debt swaps, where we have taken, each and every country has taken a lot of debts and loans from the World Economic Forum or the Global Bank. So how to channelize these funds towards the climate adaptation activities. So these things or certain examples that we can take. And what has been, if you ask me, to my small knowledge, what has been the pillars of climatic finance is that the mitigation, adaptation, the loss and damage through dedicated to the sub-goals and the financial commitments. On that note, as I told you, this is my very smallest knowledge which I have. There are eminent speakers, very eminent speakers, affluent personalities who have been really stalwarts in the industry, what they're representing here, and they are here to present the deliberations for all those pointers that Dr. Virginia was mentioning. Thank you so much. On that note, we open the floor to every one of you, and it's a greatest pleasure having you on our platform. And definitely, by the end of the day, we will have biggest takeaways from our side, I think. So on that note, kindly welcome. May I introduce the moderator for today, Mr. Balaji Krishnan. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much. He is the managing partner of Rangamani Associates, who is chartered accountants with head offices of Kottayam. And he is also representing the other branches that is from different parts of Kerala. And he is qualified CA from the year 2002 and over 21 years of experience in this field with transformation policies and strategic finance deliberations or the strategies that he has laid has taken many corporates to the highest level of performance. And if you ask me to define him in one simple word, what he believes is be the change that you wish to see in the world. Probably on that point, he has joined us. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us on the stage. Thank you so much. And over to Madam Sandhya Balaji, who is our host for today. Beautiful Madam Sandhya is again a owner of an English institute. She would love to introduce herself always. So I give the privilege to her. Over to Madam Sandhya. And once again, a warm welcome to all the wonderful speakers who have joined us on stage today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your kind words, Dr. Srividya. A very good evening or greetings of the day to one and all. I would be taking a lot of time by saying the many activities that I do, but I associate myself honorably with this mission of spreading knowledge and contributing my little to a better world. And as a passion, I teach German, and here I am today, your evening's host. And we all know that change is the only constant thing in the world. And with climate and finance, it cannot be any different. So let us go and begin with our first pointer: assistance in improving coherence and coordination in the delivery of climate change financing, especially in this fast changing digital world. We have our first speaker of the day, Dr. Mona Savan, and she's a global speaker. She's an IAU education ambassador, and she's an educational leadership specialist. So she has her expertise in leadership strategies, digital education, and human resources management. And she has led many initiatives to enhance institutional performances and also student engagement, which is also a very important part in training our future generation to adapt to these changes. And she's very passionate about innovation. She integrates AI and technology to foster dynamic student learning environments. And I'm sure she has some key contributions for us today to witness the rapid changing financial world. Ma'am, please, Mona.
Warm welcome to you, Ms. Mona. Your screen is loading. It has loaded already.
Okay.
Kindly go on to the slideshow mode.
It's as Google slide. It's not a
Okay.
PowerPoint.
Okay, you can start your presentation. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Mona Sawan. I'm representing IIU University, and I'm honored to present on the topic of enhancing coherence and coordination in climate change financing. This presentation will explore how we can bridge the adaptation gap and strengthen the climate finance frameworks to achieve the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. So let's dive right in. As you see in 2015, the Paris Agreement set a goal of 100 billion annually for climate finance. However, as of 2022, only 89.6 billion has been mobilized, falling short of the target. This shortfall is particularly concerning because only 25% of climate finance is directed toward adaptation, despite the urgent need to address the adaptation gap, which is estimated at 194 to 366 billion dollars annually. This brings us to the importance of climate change financing frameworks, which we will discuss next. Okay, so here fragmented financial mechanisms hinder effective funding allocation. Adaptation gap is estimated at 194 to 366 billion dollars per year. So the importance of climate change financing frameworks is to integrate climate change into national planning and budgeting, monitor and prioritize climate-related spending. What is the adaptation gap? Adaptation gap refers to the difference between the funding needed to address climate change impacts and the actual funding available. Here are the causes. This gap arises due to the institutional constraints, limited resources, and inefficient allocation of funds. We have also economic impact in South Asia, for example. Climate change could reduce GDP, which is gross domestic product growth, by 2% to 7% by 2050. And without adaptation measures, the gross domestic product could be 50% lower than its potential. Regarding the adaptation spending, so investing in adaptation is cost effective. Every one spent on adaptation can yield between $4 and $10 in economic benefits. Now let's look at how climate change financing framework can help close this gap. So the purpose of climate change financing frameworks is to integrate the climate financing into national budgets, track how climate-related spending aligns with the national goals, and to monitor the efficiency and effectiveness of climate investments. So the key components of climate change financing frameworks include the climate relevance scoring, review of past spending trends and financing scenarios to prioritize climate-related investments. Now let's explore the role of budgeting in climate finance. The role of budgeting in climate finance, first, we have to underfunding in low-income countries. Many low-income countries underfund adaptation, leading to economic losses and increased vulnerability. Public sector adaptation spending, example, the Green Climate Fund has funded projects like building resilience of wetlands in Peru, climate resilient infrastructure in Bangladesh also. It's an example from KPMG 2015. It's a report. Private sector engagement, example, we have green bonds have grown rapidly with the Yes Bank and the CLP India, raising funds for renewable energy and water projects. So OECD, a climate finance database, OECD stands for the Organization for the Economic Cooperation and Development. It's an international organization that works to promote policies that improve economic and social well-being around the world. As you see in this pie chart, 75 to 100% climate relevant dedicated programs, 25 to 75% climate relevant mixed projects, below 25% relevance secondary climate benefits. OECD founded in 1961, headquarters in Paris, in France. Its mission is to promote policies that improve economic growth, employment, and living standards, while also addressing global challenges like climate change, inequality, and sustainable development. The key functions of the OECD policy research and analysis, data collection and statistics, policy recommendations, international cooperations. Okay. Next, we have here case studies of climate finance in action. In South Asia, countries like India, Bangladesh, and Nepal face significant GDP losses due to climate change. For example, Bangladesh needs $5.7 billion annually to address its adaptation gap. Green Climate Fund is funding transformative projects such as building resilience of wetlands in Peru and scaling up climate information systems in Malawi. Also, the United Kingdom has made significant progress through its Climate Change Act, improving flood resilience by 45% and reducing carbon intensity by 29%. Next, we will examine global climate finance trends. As you see here in this slide, global efforts, the Green Climate Fund funding transformative projects worldwide, such as building resilience of wetlands in Peru to protect ecosystems and communities, scaling up information system to improve disaster preparedness. Next, we have this also. United Kingdom Climate Change Act 2008 has driven significant progress. 5-year climate change risk assessments on national adaptation programs detail sector-specific financial needs. Now, in this bar, we should see the results, 45% improvement in the flood resilience in vulnerable areas, like 29% reduction in carbon intensity, demonstrating the dual benefits of mitigation and adaptation. Okay, this is according to the reports of Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy 2023. So total funding in 2022, global climate finance reached 89.6 billion, falling short of the 100 billion goal. Only 22% of international climate finance reaches least developed countries, despite their vulnerability. For example, like Africa needs 277 billion annually, but receives only 3 billion. The funding gap remains a critical barriers, and better coordination is needed to ensure funds reach the most vulnerable regions. Now let's explore the role of the private sector in climate finance. The green bond market has grown to 600 billion in 2022, up from 50 billion in 2015. In India, Yes Bank and the CLP India has raised significant funds for renewable energy and water projects. European carbon market reached 90 per ton euro in 2023, driving emission reductions. South Africa's Carbon Tax Act has raised $120 million annually for climate projects. Green bonds and carbon markets are powerful tools for mobilizing private sector's finance and supporting climate actions. Finally, let's discuss recommendations for strengthening climate finance. So integrating budgeting, and countries like Indonesia have implemented the green budget tagging to align climate projects with national budgets. Colombia's climate finance strategy leveraged $2 billion in private capital through tax credits for renewable energy. South Africa carbon tax, Kenya's National Climate Fund demonstrate how legal frameworks can ensure long-term sustainability. So to bridge the adaptation gap, we must prioritize coordination, innovation, and accountability in climate finance. So together we can create a sustainable, resilient, and inclusive future. Thank you for your attention, and here is the references from which I'm getting the reports. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Mona. That was a wonderful presentation indeed. Quite comprehensive. And maybe request Mr. Balaji to give his inputs. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a scintillating performance given the time constraint and the heaviness of the matter involved. She was able to present what actually ails the whole system. We need development, but at what cost? And if there is a cost involved, how that cost should be met? Who should meet the cost? So especially with all of us sitting together in different parts of the world, there is a huge technological advancement that we have made. But then, is it really affecting our climate? And if so, who should be responsible? How we should ensure that what is good today becomes better tomorrow? And if it has to be better tomorrow, who should fund and what is the mechanism? So it was a wonderful speech, beautifully done. Then especially with the, you were able to clearly bring out the disparity involved in terms of is not meeting the expectation, because people think that viability funding is not all about trying to plant trees only. It involves much more, go to the basic infrastructure as well. So thank you very much, Mona. It was a scintillating start. You have set the tone standard as well as the brevity. Brevity is what is so important. We have all the stalwarts waiting. So
thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Over to
Thank
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was brilliant as such. When we talk about the financial mechanism, and hope everybody will agree, it is very, very important for all the governments and the stakeholders to understand and access the needs of the developing countries, as well as to understand how these financial resources can be mobilized with the provision of the resources should also take aim to achieve a balance between the adaptation and the mitigation. So on that note, we stop here. Over to Madam Sandhya Balaji to welcome the next speaker. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Mona. That was a brilliant presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Huge thank you from my side as well, Dr. Mona. And we need to showcase a little bit of variety. I would like to call upon to speak on the pointer number 6, building resilience to climate shocks is a priority. And for that, we have with us Dr. Ashok Iyer. And he is from the architectural background, and he's an academician, and he's currently the associate professor and program leader for interior design at School of Engineering, Architecture and Interior Design, Amity University, Dubai. And he is the head center of excellence for sustainability, which is actually the word of the hour. So just as we all know, climate can bring us surprises, and we should be waiting to meet these surprises with a climate-proof infrastructure. And we will have input from Dr. Ashok Iyer. The floor is here, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome, Dr. Ashok Iyer. Thank you so much. The floor is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope I'm audible.
Yes,
And
you are.
I am not a financial analyst or a financial expert to begin with. I have a background in built environment, and I am heading the Center for Excellence Sustainability. So, Balaji ma'am, a big thank you for the kind introduction. And Dr. Srividya, a big thank you for introducing Amity Dubai as a community partner for this presentation. So I'm going to give a analogy. I'm going to be taking an analogous line where I'm going to look at the built environment and try to look at climate finance from that perspective, and how governance plays an important role when we are trying to build resilience, because that is actually the reality check that we need to take into consideration as far as climate finance is concerned. So one of the key pointers when we look at climate finance is that, you know, we need to directly correlate it back to the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And, you know, as academicians and as researchers and as professionals, when we go back to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, obviously climate finance correlates or relates itself to all the 17 goals. But I do feel that there are a few goals that are directly correlative to climate finance. And one is no poverty. The second one is zero hunger. The third one is affordable and clean energy. The fourth one being decent work and economic growth. The fifth one being reduced inequalities. The sixth one being responsible consumption and production. And, you know, I'm sure many of you may question a built environment person like me, saying that why not sustainable cities? The reason is, if all these are taken care, then building a sustainable city would be the easiest forte as far as a built environment expert is concerned. So I do feel that if we have a way ahead as far as climate finance is concerned, and we need to build resilience in building sustainable communities, the way forward is to go back and revisit the 17 United Nations Sustainable Goals at all points of time. Now, why is this important, and why do I say that there is a reality check that needs to be addressed as we are talking in March 2025? Because as my learned speaker at the start, and Dr. Srividya herself, and the expert from IIU had stated in the introduction, when we talk about climate finance, we are talking about a history which goes up close to 2 decades. So we are talking about decision making that took place between 2002 and 2009. And when it was announced that 100 billion per year is what the developed countries are going to be giving developing and underdeveloped nations, which started in 2015 with the Paris Agreement. And we know we are in the juxtaposition where one of the richest countries, the only superpower in the world, has walked out of the Paris Agreement. In COP29, with all its controversies, there was an announcement that they would increase it to 300 billion USD per year by 2035. But the World Resources Institute itself has put it, and there are many other United Nations bodies which have put forward a eye-popping sum of 1.3 trillion USD per year that is required for developing and underdeveloped nations if we are talking about climate finance and mobilization against climate change and climate shocks. So if we look at what WRIS has presented, clearly we have this global north and global south divide that is happening as far as vulnerability and climate change is concerned, which we need to take into consideration. But, as far as I am concerned, I do feel that from the Indian standpoint, because India has been very proactive as far as climate finance is concerned and climate change is concerned. And I think our government has addressed this very clearly in COP29. India announced that, what is the requirement that they face to face climate change related tragedies that are happening in our country, and how they need to withstand it. So I think India gave a estimate of 1.4 trillion USD, and India also gave showed leadership when they said that how they are going to go ahead as far as renewables are concerned, and how carbon is going to be mitigated and going to be taken out of the ecosystem. And they gave timelines starting from 2030 going down to 2070. So we are talking about the government being very clear. But I just want to look back at a history case as far as the founding fathers of India are concerned. And I am going to be placing two founding fathers here: the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, and the father of India's constitution, B.R. Ambedkar. And both of them very clearly stated this time and again, where they said that whereas one of the founding fathers said that Indian village is a starting point for good governance. That means good governance should not be centralized, but good governance should be localized. And on the other side, we had another founding father of our constitution who said that if we want equity and if we want equality for all the citizens of India, it needs to be social, cultural, economic, and political equality and justice that needs to be reaching out to all the citizens of India. So when we talk about climate finance and we are talking about all these figures, and then we have a central agency or a group of agencies that are trying to percolate it downwards from the global level to the local level, I would like to revisit this aspect of history as far as the Indian standpoint is concerned. I would then like to go back close to 3,000 years back, and we are talking about a span of two millennia. We are talking about 1000 BC to 1000 AD and what India was at that standpoint. And I am going to be seeing India from a socio-cultural standpoint, where we had three major faiths that were that India had. And I had the privilege of visiting one of these sites, which was built somewhere between 300 AD to 800 AD. And what you are seeing in these photographs are caves that were built during the Buddhist, the Jain, as well as the Hindu faiths that were mingling, and they were working towards each other, with each other. There was social equity, there was cultural equity, and there was a sense of unanimity as far as the built environment and the way things were happening in India are concerned. Now, these caves that are more than 1,500, 1,800 years old, when they were built taking climate change and climate resilience into consideration. These ancient caves, on your left, on the top side, you can see the Buddha in his Bodhisattva posture as he is giving up his body and realizing and going towards nirvana. On the right side, on the top side, you've got a very old set of caves, which are called the Pithalkora group of caves. And on the lower side, there are a set of Jain caves that I have presented from Ellora. Now, during the current climate change that is happening in this part of India, where incessant rainfall and rainfall which is non-seasonal that is happening, these built environment, these ancient pieces of built environment are still in a position to withstand the vagaries of climate change. The flooding and the drainage system in these caves are very interesting to study, and gives you a perspective that they are resilient to climate shock. So what I am trying to put forward is that when we talk about climate finance, we need to be looking at a new outlook. I call this outlook, this has already been termed and this has been used in various forums. I would say that it has to be a global outlook, wherein we have both global as well as local partners who are working together. And what I am presenting in front of you is a case of how built environment is being developed in the Emirate of Sharjah, which is a small, poor emirate, not very well known in the United Arab Emirates. When we talk about this country, the oil-rich country, we talk about the city of Dubai. Everybody talks about it, but we have got a case of Sharjah where at a local level, the governance is focusing on culture. The governance is focusing on resilience, and the governance is focusing on having a cultural outlook of what their past was and how to create a resilient future as far as the citizens of this small emirate within this nation of United Arab Emirates is concerned. So my take on the global outlook as far as climate finance and building resilience is concerned is focusing on what we call as climatic finance delivery that needs to be happening at a local level, where from the macro level, we need to bring it down to the micro level, and we need to look at local governance. When we are talking about complex transition to clean and renewable energy, this needs to be done at a local level. We need to look at the local requirements, and then we need to implement this. If we don't look at the micro level nuances, at the end of the day, we may make a lot of big pledges, but we may not be in a position to successfully implement it and focus on risk mitigation, which is one of the most important aspects that we need to look at when we are talking about climate change, climate shocks, and the natural tragedies that are happening as far as the world is concerned. So without any further ado, I take this opportunity to thank the organizers for giving me this this small moment to present my case as far as climate finance is concerned. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic.
Thank you, Doctor. Over
Yeah.
to Mr. Balaji.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. In fact, he nailed the whole thing in the end where he said that it's more micro than macro. I think that has to be the greatest message to be sent across the people, because this is basically for people. Because if you look at a community which is dependent on thriving, it's basically the individuals that constitute the community which needs to survive this onslaught of climate change. So ideally, if each of us take it on us to make a small contribution, as the squirrels might, as they have put it in our part of the world, then we are looking at a huge difference that could happen. It's actually the reverse of economies of scale. If each individual is very sensitive about the climate change that happens and then tries to tell his neighbor, can you not do it this way or can you do it this way? If that kind of a cooperation has got into the minds of the people, then as he said, all the things, if you look at the beautiful picture that he shared, it had a lot of open, vast land around it that actually has protected it from the vagaries of nature all along. So that's just a pointer. We need not stack things. We should have space in between the buildings that we build. So that has to be another thing that has to be taken up. And also the fact that countries have to be sensitive, not only for its own cost, not only for the cost that we are living for today, we have to preserve for tomorrow, and that tomorrow is not 1 year or 2 years. We have to predict ourselves for the next 50 years to see how we are able to achieve the goal of controlling the climate and spending effectively towards reaching that goal. Wonderful presentation, Dr. Iyer. Thank you so much.
Very
Over to
true.
you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Iyer. It is greatest presentation with very quintessential insights, I would say, definitely. And thanks to Mr. Balaji as well, as he was rightly mentioning that investing in reducing risk and vulnerabilities is the key for building the resilient systems. And measures such as DRR and the climate smart agricultural practices should be invoked on. And so when we build resilience, it's just essential for achieving the United Nations Sustainable Developmental Goals. Thank you so much. And the targets that are involved in, as he rightly mentioned, poverty reduction, food security, and environmental sustainability. That was a brilliant takeaway from Dr. and both of them. Thank you so much. Over to Madam Sandhya Balaji.
Thank you, ma'am.
And to welcome the next speaker. Yeah.
Yeah, so right now we all have to finance a new transition. We think that it is simple to go clean and green and renewable, but actually that is very complex, simply complex. And to enlighten us on the magnitude of the simply complex process comes to us, Dr. Virginia Rivera is here with us, and she's no new face for us. She can make all the complex things explained so simply, and I'm so looking forward to listen to her. She's a social entrepreneur, a certified business coach, and she's a mentor, consultant, and a media proprietor for over 2 decades, and she's a corporate business leader. And she's the current president of the World Education Policy, and she truly believes that the power of education should uplift, empower, and prepare us for a sustainable future, which is definitely the need of the hour. And and to say a little more about her is that she's a business conglomerate with the Piyush Group as the vice president, and she's overseeing initiatives at the IIU Internal Internship University and James International School and the first metro village in Kunda, India. She's also helping women entrepreneurs set up their own businesses and making the W power stronger in this worldwide, beautiful world. So, Dr. Virginia, the
Warm
digital
welcome to you,
stage is
Dr.
yours.
Virginia.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very excited to be here and talk about this. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Where do I'm sure I don't see it. Let's see.
It's loading,
Here
I
it is.
think.
Here it is.
Still
It is
loaded.
right
It's loaded. It's
Yeah.
loading now. Yeah.
there. Yes, yes.
It's
Is it?
visible.
Can you see? Loading?
It's visible. Maybe we can go to the presentation mode.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Wonderful.
It's
Yes?
still loading. It's not come to the presentation mode, but we could see your slides.
You can see it? No?
Yeah, maybe from the current slide, you can choose the next one. You're with the,
Okay. Okay, great. So our topic is financing the complex transition to clean renewable energy. And I just wanted to, let's see. Okay, there. Can you see that? No?
It's not happening. Maybe like you can go back and come again, choose and
Start
come
again.
again.
Let me start again, and let me try again.
again.
One more.
Yeah.
Can you see it now?
It's still loading.
Okay.
It's still loading.
Well, I will start. Okay.
I'm doing it now. Yeah. Just hold on. It's still loading.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Maybe by
I'm going to try it for the last time. Let's see. Let's do this again.
yes, there you are.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. The first slide is not important. It's just a picture, a great picture. But let's talk today about the importance of transitioning to clean, renewable energy. How essential this is for mitigating climate change and achieving global climate targets set by the Paris Agreement. By reducing reliance on fossil fuels that we know are harming our environment, and I have to say that in the United States alone, 223 natural disasters have cost us more than $20 trillion. We can significantly cut greenhouse gas emissions if we really put our heads together. Introduction to renewable energy. What is the definition of this? Renewable energy comes from natural sources that are continuously replenished, such as solar, wind, hydro, and geothermal. What's the importance of this? That when we transition to renewable energy, it's essential for reducing greenhouse gas emissions and combating climate change. Let's see. Current global energy landscape. The fact is, as of 2022, approximately 80% of the world's energy consumption still comes from fossil fuels, coal, oil, and natural gas. The statistic says that the International Energy Agency estimates that global energy-related CO2 emissions reached a record high of 36.4 billion tons in 2021. Can we imagine the damage that has happened since then? Globally, fossil fuels dominate the energy mix, and we can see that in this graph, comprising approximately 82% of the total, while renewable accounts for smaller share, around 14.6, and nuclear energy only 4.6. The need for transition, our climate goal. The Paris Agreement aims to limit global warming to well below the 2 degrees Celsius, with efforts to restrict it to 1.5. The statistics show that according to the IPCC, to achieve these goals, global CO2 emissions must be reduced by 45% by 2030 compared to our 2010 levels. So we're talking almost half. How are we going to make this happen? And what are our challenges? The challenges of transitioning to renewables. There's a big investment gap. The IEA estimates that 4 trillion annually is needed to achieve a sustainable energy future by 2030. We need infrastructure, upgrading grids, building new renewable energy facilities, and ensuring energy storage solutions. But additional to this, we also need a skilled workforce. So it's imperative that we have workforce training, because it's very, very essential for it to really go hand in hand with the new renewable energy technologies. We also need financing solutions, and these could be bucketed in 3 important ones. Number 1, public funding. Governments can increase budgets for renewable projects and offer tax incentives. Dr. Mona talked about the fact of the huge gap between what is needed and what the governments are actually budgeting. We can also count on private investment. We need to encourage our private sector to really start using more of the green bonds and sustainable investment funds. But there are also innovative financing models. We can use power purchase agreements, PPAs, the famous PPAs. We can also think of community solar projects, and we can also think of something that's been used mainstream, crowdfunding for renewable initiatives. These are easy things, and I'm trying to be as general as possible right now so we can all understand what we need to ask our government, what we need to ask our private sector, and what we from the grassroots movement can actually do. I want to share with you in this short time 2 important case studies. Number one is solar energy financing, and this is from the US. The US Solar Investment Tax Credit, or the ITC, offers a 26% tax credit for solar systems on residential and commercial properties. What's the impact? This incentive has helped the US solar market grow by over 167% in the last 5 years. Now, I'm going to throw something at you, and I think somebody made a reference to this already. President Trump, our new elected president, has taken steps to roll back climate policies, including withdrawing from the Paris Agreement, weakening environmental regulations, and prioritizing fossil fuel development, actions that completely go against what we've tried to do for the last 16 years, undermining completely our global efforts to combat climate change. I think it's very important for us to address the elephant in the room, especially if it's a US person as myself talking about how we're going to go about this. Now, the program that we do have in place, the ITC, and it is still in place, has really helped us everywhere, not only residentially, but also commercially. So what are the key components of this? Solar investment tax credit is this. It introduced in 2006, the ITC, which allows homeowners and business owners to deduct 26% of the cost of installing their solar energy systems from their federal taxes. So that is 1/4 of what a citizen would be paying in taxes. This incentive has significantly lowered the upfront cost for solar installations, making it a lot more accessible to a broader range of consumers. We have state incentives and programs. Many states, which have 50 states in the United States, many offered additional incentives such as rebates, tax credits, and performance-based incentives. For example, California has aggressive solar initiatives that have fostered a strong local solar market. Also, net metering policies allow solar users to sell excess energy back to the grid, providing financial returns on their investment. I want to explain a little bit about this. In Austin, Texas, if you have solar panels in your home and you don't consume the entire amount, you can sell the excess energy back to the power company, which will make you then a profit. So everybody wins. So this is a win-win proposition. As of yet, President Trump has not done anything to touch it, but we don't know what will happen. The impact is a growth in capacity. According to the solar energy industries, the US installed more than 19.2 gigawatts of solar capacity in 2021 alone, bringing the total to 121 gigawatts. It provides job creation. The solar industry has created over 250,000 jobs across the nation, contributing to the economic stability and growth. Jobs range from installation to maintenance to manufacturing and sales. What are our challenges? Despite the successes, challenges remain, such as regulatory hurdles, the need for improved energy storage solutions, and the requirement for continued investment to sustain growth. The transition to solar also varies by region, with some states lagging in adopting the solar technology due to lack of incentives or favorable legislation. So this is not great for anybody or everybody, but it is definitely great for the planet. The U.S. aims to achieve a 100% clean energy grid by 2035, with solar playing a critical role in this vision. Continued federal and state support alongside technological advances will be crucial to overcoming existing barriers and fostering further growth in the solar sector. So as you can see, the decisions that our new president makes today are very, very important and are crucial to the outcome. Another case study is Germany's Energiewende. Germany's Energiewende is a comprehensive policy aimed at transforming the country's energy system to focus on renewable energy sources while reducing the greenhouse gas emissions. Renewable energy expansion. As of 2022, renewables accounted for approximately 42% of Germany's electricity consumption. This is amazing. Practically half of the energy consumption in Germany is in renewable energies. The investment in infrastructure is serious. Germany has invested heavily in grid infrastructure and energy storage. These solutions will accommodate the increasing share of renewable energy. It also feed-in tariffs. It introduced in 2000 these tariffs, which guarantee fixed payments for electricity generated from renewable sources, encouraging people to invest in solar and wind power. They also are using the green bonds that we should all be. Germany has issued green bonds to finance renewable energy projects, attracting significant investment from both domestic and international investors. The impact, job creation. This renewable energy sector has created more than 300,000 jobs in Germany. Also, the CO2 emissions have reduced drastically. Since 1990, 40%. It shows that these policies are definitely working. I would like to really share with you the international cooperation. By making global partnerships between countries, we can enhance the technology transfer and financial support. The Green Climate Fund aims to support developing countries in the transition to low emission and climate resilient development. We can see in this map right here, the green companies, those that are participating in the early green, including Indonesia and Malaysia. We have an urgent call to action. We all need to really put our collaborative efforts to finance the transition to renewable energy. Our vision is a world where clean energy is accessible, sustainable, and a cornerstone of economic growth. Our final thought, that by investing in renewable energy, we invest in the health of our planet and future generations. And I have to say, we invest in where we live in the future. It is truly important that we take seriously every single component of what we discussed today, not only what the governments can do, but what we can do from the grassroots level. Thank you again for giving me the opportunity. I wish we had more time to discuss, but I do hope that we're able to enlighten a little bit of what we can actually do. Thank you so much.
I'm so excited to share mine, but I'll go definitely after Mr. Balaji. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful note that you're leading out.
Absolutely true. Yeah, she was able to showcase how adopting small changes to the way you're sustaining yourself, especially by investing in solar. Germany's case, for example, is a fantastic example that countries can emulate using wind, no additional effort required, using solar, sunlight to convert the existing network. Probably what the world has definitely missed out in the process is a huge thinking perspective to invest in research, where the existing fuel efficiency of the fossil fuels, say, can be increased by 100 times. That also would contribute. Probably that thinking also needs to get into the mindset of people. But otherwise, as I said, a lot of takeaways from her presentation, especially the phased manner in which she was able to create how a country can develop from what it is and then still not lose out on their environmental perspective. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dr.
To add on there, if I'm allowed, there are key 5 takeaways from Dr. Virginia. That is definitely regulated, transparent power arrangements, which has to come into the government policies, specific clean energy and climatic incentives that she was talking about. That's a beautiful mention over there. And in general, business-friendly measures in terms of collaboration, working in together. And definitely, last but not the least, the innovative financing mechanisms with taking into consideration of each and every local, national, international way that we can work with globally. That was a brilliant presentation. And we definitely had a very valuable insights to take away, Dr. Virginia. Thank you so much. Brilliant. It's always a pleasure having you with us. Thank you. Over to Madam Sandhya Balaji to welcome the next speaker on board. Thank you.
Before that, I'd like to add on a small thing. With Germany in Dr. Virginia's presentation, I'm all pepped up as though it is me who is being talked about. But yeah, Energiewende itself means energy turnaround, to bring about a change with the energy. And Germany has certainly done it well and right and has set an example. And I also have this input to add that even with other source of energies like coal, which Germany is also into research of bringing up a concept called as washable coal, which does not emit so much or pollute so much the environment. And now I'm back to putting on my moderator face and inviting the next speaker. And here I am to invite Dr. Subhashree, who is going to speak again on pointer 1, give her take on how in this digital world climatic finance can change. Dr. Subhashree is an academician and she has vast experience in academics and research, and she's published over 20 papers in reputed national and international journals, and she has also developed a personal multidisciplinary interest in research, and she promotes sustainable development goals amongst her students, and she's actively involved in being an advocate of SDGs, and she is part of Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute. Welcome, Doctor. The digital dice is yours.
Welcome, Dr. Subhashree ma'am. She's the joint registrar of Dr. MGR Medical Research Institute. Thank you so much, ma'am. Over to you.
Yeah. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
You can start your sharing, ma'am.
Yeah, please.
Next will be following Dr. Subhashree will be calling Professor Andrea. So you can be ready for your next presentation, ma'am. Professor Andrea. Yes, thank you. Dr. Subhashree, you can start sharing your screen.
Yeah. Can you see my screen, ma'am?
I think it is loading, but we are not able to see the screen yet.
I have presented. I don't know.
It's not on. Maybe even your video is off, because I could see that from the beginning, like you were going on and off, and I presume that you had some connectivity problem there, or net problem, internet problem.
Yeah. Actually, I have a internet issue in my area. So I'm just connecting with my data only, this one. So I don't know whether
Okay, if without the presentation, would you like to share? You can do that, ma'am, because your voice is quite audible.
Yeah, okay.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, I thank for such a wonderful opportunity I am not a climate finance person. Basically, I'm basically a science person. But due to the interest I have developed towards the SDG goals and promoting among our students, so I thought I can share my insight on the climate finance. So the topic which I chose was assistance in improving coherence and coordination in the delivery of climate change. We have veteran speakers here. So as I told you, I'm just a learner, a beginner here. I just want to share some insight on climate change financing. And I need to share how we can share our resources so that the funds are utilized in an effective way to bring down the climatic change. Okay, so generally the climate change financing refers to financial resources. It can be from public, private, or any other alternative source. And this finance or the funding that we need to utilize it for the climate change, which includes mitigation and adaptation also. The financing mechanism, it's very, the transition is from a low carbon economy and enhancing resilience to climate impact. We are all aware of the Kyoto Protocol and the Paris Agreement call for financial assistance, which must be utilized only for the climate change conditions, and whatever impact that is going to be created should be globally utilized. The finance, again, it is very important for adaptation, as a significant financial resources are needed to adapt to the adverse effect and to reduce the impact of changing climate. This finance, whatever today I'm going to present, it is based on the principle of common but differentiated responsibility and respective capabilities. Now, when we talk about the financing, it is not just a single entity, or it is not going to be a single fund or anything like that. We all need to know all the government stakeholders. We have to understand and assess the financial need for the developing countries, and what are all the financial resources that are available and how they can be mobilized. The resources must be aiming to achieve a balance between adaptation and mitigation, right? We cannot just compromise on anything else. They have to be balanced. The effort that was taken under the Paris Agreement is to make the financial flow consistent towards lowering of greenhouse gas emission and climate resilient development. Assessing progress in provision and mobilization of support must also be considered, which is also a part of the agreement. Okay, so we need to have the financial support in a transparent manner, and the predictability must be enhanced. So we all know that a lot of fundings are available for addressing the climate change issues. But what are the challenges that we are having ahead of us? Firstly, I would say it is significantly large investments. We need a large investment nevertheless, right? Secondly, the capital cost is very high. Then we have to ensure, even though the amount is available with us, the finance is available, we have to ensure that the funds are reaching the most vulnerable nation. It should not be with a part of it or something with a developed nation or something. It has to reach each and every part, and the climate funding must be utilized globally. The impact of utilizing in one corner must be impacted for the entire world. Navigating the complex institutional regulatory landscape also is a challenge which is ahead of us. So when we are talking about such climate change financing that are available, and also taking into account the challenges, now how do we effectively coherent and coordinate for the utilization of the fund for an effective climate action? So what do we need to do? Efforts must be aligned. Whatever effort, it should be a unified effort that should be aligned. The resources must be utilized effectively, and the impacts must be maximized. So why do we need a coherence and coordination in this aspect? First of all, we need to have a streamlined processing and we should avoid duplication, right? As a case of sampling, right? Since I'm a science based person, so any sampling what we do, we are going to take the results, and the result is implemented widely, right? So we can have some sort of something like that, some approach where we can avoid duplication. And most importantly, we need to foster collaboration. So as I told, single-handedly it is not possible. We need to have a collaboration. We need to have a streamlined processing, and we need to avoid duplication, and so that the impact becomes very good. So some of the assistance that are available is the Green Climate Fund, Global Environment Facility, and we have adaptation fund like UNF, the CCC framework, then climate investment funds. Then we also have private, public-private partnerships. We can have green bonds. We can have debt swaps. We can have windfall taxes also available, right? So all these are already available. So our main idea or a goal is how to utilize this for an effective reduction of climate change, or how do we adapt to the climate that is changing. We also need to look into the capability building, capacity building, and the technical assistance that need to be provided. So we need to strengthen the national capacity. We have to, the developing countries in developing climate finance strategy, policy framework, and project proposals must be supported. We have to provide technical assistance to help countries access climate finance and implement climate action projects. As I told you a few slides back, I told it's a collaboration. So whatever climate action projects, we have to implement it effectively. And knowledge sharing. Share the best knowledge, best practice, and the lesson learned in climate finance to promote effective and efficient implementation. Now, when we are talking about such fundings, the mobilization, mobility, or the mobilization in diversing funding sources, addressing the investment barriers, fostering sustainable finance ecosystem, etc., becomes a high priority. And while we are prioritizing the adaptation and mitigation projects, especially in infrastructure and renewable sectors. When we talk about mobilize diverse funding sources, we can concentrate on the global green capital, the diversifying funds available, strengthening domestic financial systems. And when we are talking about addressing investment barriers, what are all the barriers as all challenges, we have to look into these following things, which is reduce perceived risk, improve project viability, streamline regulatory framework. And to foster a sustainable finance ecosystem, we need to develop green finance instruments, establish sector-specific financial institutions, and promote collaborations. And from prioritizing the projects, we have to focus on adaptation and mitigations. We have to invest on the infrastructure, right? Especially in countries like India, the economic growth and the green infrastructure project can contribute a lot to climatic changes. And we have to support renewable energy. We have to promote investments in renewable energy projects to reduce the reliance on fossil fuels. The key initiatives that are the examples that we can have, especially in countries like India, or wherever we have a lot of population and wherever we are having a lot of climate changes, we can have priority sectors lending to renewable energy. We can have green bonds, deposits, sustainable finance groups, etc. So with these points, it is up to us to effectively use this funding that is available and the project that is going to be implemented for adapting to the climate change. The results, the impact must be utilized globally. So this is, with these few words, I think I can give you a thank you for giving me such a wonderful opportunity. I've just shared what are all the things that as a person or as a format that we are here to globalize the climate change adaptation. So taking into account, I think together we can take up the challenge, and we can overcome the climate changes, and we can effectively adapt for a greener earth. Thank you for the opportunity provided.
Okay, that's very kind of you, Dr. Shubhasri. In fact, you actually set the tone, taken it to the next level, touched on the nerve points of carbon credit funding. That's fundamental to the whole thing. So you have really been very nice in terms of bringing the serious focus about how countries should create their development, not at the cost of the environment. And if at all there is a cost, how that must be borne to the next generation. Wonderfully done. I think we should wear the hat of Charles Dickens, Tom Sawyer, because they converted, they were the first ones to convert cost center into a profit center. He was made to paint a wall that he converted into an activity where he made a lot of money. So I think this whole mindset of carbon credit or sustainability being a very mundane cost-related exercise must be changed to make people understand that unless you take care of this part, you will not earn profit. So make them really be sensitive to what they want to do in the future. Wonderfully done, Dr. Shubhasri. Over to you, Dr. Sudhir. I beg your pardon. I think you should unmute yourself. We are very smart people in the team, but then we can't read lips. I'm sorry.
I know. Well, I take it as a compliment there. Thank you so much. And so, well, I just have one mention there. Well, as you rightly mentioned, in summary, that international climatic funds, including the Global Environment Facility, that is GEF, and the Green Climate Fund, GCF, Adaptation Fund, AF, and the funds led to the multilateral developmental banks, such as climatic investment funds and the bilateral funding, which are specialized in climatic funding, are very key, or the sources for bringing in the climatic action and NDC implementation. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. It is a great, yes.
We will be missing the whole thing if we don't forget the fact that I'm sure that it's a voluntary carbon market that will take this initiative to the ultimate conclusion. So that also is something that she did bring focus on. Thank you very much. I forgot that. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Subhashri. It was a brilliant presentation, and thanks to Aijan for having you here. And we always love working with Aijan and the presentations. Thank you so much. Over to the boss of today, Madam Sandhya Balaji, to welcome the next speaker on board.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we have another person taking her or saying what she would advocate on the same pointer. And we have Dr. Andrea Cabello, who's having a doctorate in economics. And since 2012, she's been a professor in the Department of Economics at UNB, and she's published over 50 papers in several renowned national and international journals on a variety of topics such as education, innovation, space sector, electricity sector, energy transition, and electoral behavior, and also the history of economic thought. She's been a visiting professor at many universities such as University of Antwerp and the University of Canterbury and the Prague School of Economics. So we welcome you, ma'am, and the digital dais is yours.
A warm welcome to you, Professor Andrea, and it's a greatest pleasure having you here. And I'm so curious to know exactly what's going to be my takeaway for today from you as such. And so the floor is all yours, and warm welcome to you on behalf of everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me here. This is my first time here. I wasn't very sure what to present, but I think from what I've heard from your presentations today, I may not be as specific or concrete as some of your presentations, but I do think I'm a good follow-up to Dr. Subhashri presentation. Let me just share my screen real quick. Wait,
please.
There it is. What I want to speak about is something that I think is important not only for climate change, but for many of the challenges that we face, especially in the last 5 years with the pandemic. I think it's something that became very clear for us in the last 5 years. It's an approach that has it came to be known as risk and opportunity approach. In my presentation, I think you understand why. It's how do I say, it's an alternative to what, I mean, many of you probably have heard about it, the cost and benefit analysis. I mean, engineers use it very often. Economists love it. It's the idea that I'm going to get cost, I'm going to get benefits, and I'm going to evaluate in present value, like all the expected value of these costs in the future, the expected benefits of these the expected value of these benefits in the future, then compare it. And if this cost benefit analysis gives me a positive value in terms of benefits, that is, if benefits they are superior than costs, then I should really do that investment. I mean, it's pretty easy, it's pretty straightforward, it's pretty, it's not hard for you to convince a banker when you're trying to get financing. I mean, invest in my company, invest in my project, see benefits overcome costs, so it's pretty easy. But for you to actually do that in practice, there are a few assumptions, there are a few things behind it that make it unfeasible for some projects and make it fallacious for some projects. And that's why my point here is that we have been trying to use it for climate change projects, to finance climate change projects, and some projects are not getting financed because of this. I mean, the assumptions that are behind this kind of analysis is that risk is measurable, that agents are uniform. I mean, the sense that we know what agents want, we know what they like, we know their preferences. I mean, I'm an economist. I apologize beforehand for the kind of language. I know economists like to talk this way, and I know not everybody likes the way we talk, but I apologize beforehand. And we assume the information is complete, that we know everything about the states of the world, about the past, about the future. I mean, I usually joke that we economists like to pretend that we're God. We know everything, we see everything, and so on. Obviously, that these assumptions are very unrealistic. But sometimes, I mean, sometimes it's not that reality comes close to that, but sometimes they are not, they're not that, they do not make it the assumption as unapplicable as you would think. So we in our models, we economists in our models, if we have these assumptions and we propose what we would say a policymaker or a society objective function, remember that we economists love to maximize an utility function or something like this, we would expect to estimate a marginal benefit of policy A, policy B. For example, I heard here people talking about solar energy, solar policy in Germany, for example, that have benefit many countries in the world, especially the policies in the early 2000 years that led to an oversupply of solar panels. And even Brazil here has benefit from that. My energy matrix today is about 10–15% in solar energy because of, in part at least, because of Germany's solar policy in the early 2000s. So this is actually very good, you know, and I can, in a way, analyze today the benefits of that because, well, I can measure the effect. Like I said, it's measurable, it's easy, it's not that hard for me to analyze. But sometimes things are not that easy. Things are not, these assumptions are not that close to reality. I cannot put things that into perspective that easily. These close to reality usually happens when I'm analyzing something that isn't short term, when something is very easy to predict. For example, am I gonna be in my job next year? Yes, probably I will. So for me to predict my salary next year, it's pretty straightforward. For me to predict what will be my commuting, what will be my mode of transportation, what will be my habits if I stay in my job. It's pretty easy. But will I be in my job in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years? It's much harder for me to predict something in such a long time horizon. And then how do I do that? How do I design policies which are for something so far ahead? And that's when climate change comes in. I'm not talking about something that it's going to happen in a year, in 2 years. And we are asking financing, we're asking for funding, we're asking for money for something that it's not for a year from now. And when we think about our financial system, the major part of our financial system is based on, at least in developed countries, you're supposed to have a sound private financial system. And private companies, private banks, they work on that cost and benefit structure. They only fund things in which private benefits, present benefits are bigger than present costs. And if they're not, forget about it. I will not give you money for something that obviously costs surpass benefits. You're not going to get my money if you're obviously telling me that this is going to cut into a loss. So this is a problem, or at least if you can't tell me if this is going to cut into a loss or not, if you can't tell me, if you can't predict that. And this is what happens when you have something that we call structural change. Because for you to actually change society, change reality, change the world, sometimes you have to do that. You have to propose structural change. You can't know what's going to happen. And this is what usually comes when you have long-term change. And long-term change is usually related to a few things that I want to bring on here. The first thing is a fundamental uncertainty. Fundamental uncertainty happens when we do not know the list of all possible events, or we may even know, but we cannot assign probabilities to each possible event in an objective way. This usually happens, the past is not a good guide for the future. And a great example for this is the pandemic. Had we ever had a pandemic before? Yes, we had. But the fact that we had a pandemic before did not help us at all predicting the 2020 pandemic. So it's like, statisticians could say, well, it was an outlier. Yeah, but what good did that make me? When you tell me it was an outlier, I still could not predict it. I still couldn't do anything from it. It was still uncertain. I still lost a lot of money from it. A lot of people still died. So basically, I still could not prevent it. I still could not be prepared for it. And basically, that's the same thing that happens with climate change. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if my predictions, for example, I don't know how good my predictions are. I have scenario 1 that says this is going to happen. I have scenario 2 that this is going to happen. I have scenario 3 that this is going to happen. But to be very honest, I don't know the likelihood of scenario 1, scenario 2, or scenario 3. I don't know. The only thing that I'm certain is that I don't know. And that's okay. That's okay, but I have to recognize that I don't know. And this really leads us to, the policymaker. The most that I can do is that perhaps, I know that I have what we call black swans. It's an inference problem, let's put it this way. And the most that I have to do is be prepared for possibilities of events, even if I don't know the actual probability of them to happen. Can a new pandemic happen tomorrow? Yes. What's the probability of it? I have no idea. But that's why we come to talk about resilience. I need to be prepared, even if I don't know. Yes, please. You can interrupt me. I saw a hand. Dr. Sukumar?
Yes.
Did you-
Yeah. How long will it take, ma'am? Exactly?
How much do I have?
Maybe 5 minutes is okay with you?
Yes, it's okay. I'll
Thank you.
spit it out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Structural change also has to do with complexity. Because here we consider that since we're talking about things long-term, we're talking about dynamic and not static efficiency, which is something that economics really focus on. So we're not focusing on like one desired effect, but actually the change in direction. Where do we want to go? Like for climate change is like, we want to change, we don't want to do fossil fuels anymore. We want to change to something else. It might be solar, possibly, but it may not be solar. I mean, it may not work for everyone. It may be wind, possibly, but again, it may not be for everyone. But we know that we want to get out of fossil fuels. So this is the most sometimes that we can say. We can't really be, how do I say, we can't be that certain about things. And one thing that we have to be aware is that many times we create path-dependent outcomes. I don't know if you're aware of this, but when fossil fuel vehicles were created in the early 20th century, they were not the most cost-efficient option. They actually were in similar cost advantage to vapor vehicles and to electricity vehicles as well. They just, I mean, it was just more of a scale thing that made them be the choice. So when I talk about a risk and opportunity approach, that you have to assess risk and assess opportunity rather than assess cost and benefits, I'm talking here about considering three things: heavy-tailed uncertainty, fundamental uncertainty, and systemic risk. What is heavy-tailed uncertainty? Heavy-tailed uncertainty comes up when you have such a high variancy, such high standard deviations that they may not even exist, which make any kind of prediction unreliable. You can't predict the future, basically. Fundamental uncertainty, like we said, it's not possible to rank to rank the probabilities of all the possible future outcomes. So you don't really know how to make any really reliable consideration about the future. And when you talk about systemic risk, you have such complex interdependencies within the system that you lead to increased risk, because if you choose this, it will lead to that, and it will lead to that, and you have such unforeseen consequences that that making a choice leads to this whole chain of reactions that you can't really predict. So what are the consequences of this unforeseen future? First, that you may have, like I said, path dependence possibilities, that intervention, like the government intervention here leads to one thing, but then you get perhaps even in deadlock possibilities. The second is that sometimes you can't really talk about optimal choices. It doesn't really make sense to talk about that. And the third thing is that it makes no sense. I mean, it's really hard for you to talk about efficiency, or for you to talk about measuring costs and benefits in long-term policies like you do in short-term policies, because you can't really measure those. So what I'm saying is that perhaps what you really need to do is to talk about what we call a systemic view of policy. One that to actually build resilience, you have to consider that you need spare capacity. You can't really operate at the frontier, like economists usually say, with full efficiency. Because if something happened, you don't have space to move on in your production capacity. The second one, instead of talking about efficiency like we usually talk about, you need to have what we call a dynamic effectiveness, because you're talking about a future, a long-term thing. You have to be able to change your options in somewhat fast pace. And if you don't have the spare capacity, you can't do that. The third thing that I already mentioned here is that you have to be satisfied with only setting the direction of change and not actually choosing the path that you will go. And this means that you have to consider stress tests for risk assessments and opportunity assessments. what are the opportunities that perhaps you get to choose, and what are the risks of choosing this or that path? Because you have to consider the unintended consequences of each policy implementation. And so this means that you have to consider what you can consider is the direction of change, the velocity of change, and the likelihood that this path will lead to this or to other consequences. So this means what? This means that when you choose a path, you're actually choosing a technology, but you're actually choosing winners as well. Like here, we just talked about solar energy. Those who produce solar energy will be favored. So for example, China had a lot of a huge production of solar panels. It was favored because of this. And it's okay, but you have to recognize that you're also choosing winners in this thing, that no choice of policy is neutral, whether in terms of technology, whether in terms of distribution. So you have to recognize that first, you need government intervention, and government intervention is not neutral. And what does this mean for climate finance? First, that climate finance cannot consider only short-term goals. And this means that many times you cannot depend on typical funding options. It cannot depend only on private sector options, because they will only consider present value and return, and they will not fund the needed projects that we do need for long-term structural change. We need a strong and unambiguous state policy behind. And this is my point here. My last slide, my last point here is exactly that for you to actually fund climate change, this is not going to go through a traditional project funding channel. This, like you said, why don't we have this so clearly in the United States? Because we do not hear a strong and unambiguous state policy behind. Because when you have a change of government, this strong and unambiguous state policy is not behind it. And this is my message here today. I'm sorry if I spoke a little more than I should have.
Thank you very much.
That was, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant presentation indeed. I hope everybody will agree with us. It was a really brilliant presentation, Professor Andrea, brilliant. And so, like, I will go after Mr. Balaji, please.
You're coming after me or go after me? Anyway, that's actually what is the essence of a message. What are we trying to achieve? Do you think you are able to achieve what we want to achieve? Are we moving in the right direction? But then, I would like to put it in a different perspective. When a small baby is born, that parents have great ambition of that becoming a world leader. So you groom that child right from day one to be part of the world, make it understand, make it hear or make it read things way beyond its capacity. So probably we are at this stage where the microeconomy is made to eschew so many things, which is not being digestible for it at the present level. But then we need to make these microeconomies believe that unless it is gearing itself for the great change that is going to engulf the world where our existence itself might be under jeopardy, it is for us to think systemically, to see that medium term means 25 years and the long term means 50 years. So we need to change our mindset to think that medium term means 5 years and long term is more than 5 years. So, but then it was a fantastic insight as to what exactly is quid pro quo. Are we trying to see in the right manner? So you've got a lot of food for thought, Professor Andrea. We're all really grateful for the fantastic performance. Thank you very much, Dr. Sylvia.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Andrea. That I think Mr. Balaji covered almost everything of what you said. My add-ons, if you actually would say that finance to support the climate action and to implement the NDCs comes from the multiple sources, right? We do agree with that and will not always be labeled and clearly recognized as climatic finance only. That's very key takeaway. Very good. That's a very key point that you have stressed there. For example, support to the health sector, maybe building capacity to cope up with the increased prevalence to the vector-borne diseases, as you mentioned about the pandemic associated with the warmer temperatures, and the investments in the agricultural sector may support for the greater resilience and even for the drought indeed. So in fact, giving a considerable overlap between these activities to implement the Paris Agreement in terms of SDG and the Central Framework with the developmental finance will play a very significant role, especially in the LDCs and SIDs in supporting the climatic action. So developmental assistance will play a key role in leveraging the private sector finance for climatic action. Thank you so much. That was brilliant indeed. And really, it's a greatest pleasure having you there. And thank you so much. Thank you. And we would love to work with you more and more. Would like to hear from you more and more. Thank you so much. Thank you. Over to Madam Sandhya Balaji to welcome the next speaker. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a great presentation indeed. And we're talking about climatic finance, and are we talking only about emissions and money management and infrastructure? Should we also talk about, will it be creating more jobs? Will it be creating, will it be alleviating poverty? To take a stand on that, I welcome Dr. Jose and Professor Dr. Jose Luis Esteves. He's a global DBA, Global Chair of SDG 4 of Global Sustainable Futures Network through partnership and postdoctorate in innovation for organizational sustainability at PPAD, which is the Pontifical Catholic University of Brunei. And he's a senior consultant for UNDP 2024 within the scope of G20 in 2024. Welcome, Doctor. And the digital dais is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope you all can listen me well. Good morning from Brazil. Now it's noon. It's about 1:15 noon. So good afternoon and good evening for all those folks that are attending this, what I used to say, bright gathering of minds in this
Very
Sunday.
good afternoon, Professor, and warm welcome to you. That's from me personally. Thank you so much. Thank you. Please go ahead. Thank you.
And may I continue?
Yes, Professor, please.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would like, as always, thank you very much, Dr. Sivija, and all these fantastic things for this invitation today. I have had the opportunity to see all these presentations that we have during this morning, and they were really fantastic. And I believe that I come here with a couple of insights and reflections that will build like a bridge to all these thoughts that we had up to this moment here. I would ask your permission to share my screen that I have made a small presentation, and so I will bring it to you. Okay. Okay. Believe that you all can see it. You can see it?
Yes, we can.
So thank you very much for this invitation. So the subject topic is climate finance advantage by tracking social and economic impacts. And we are here again with a lot of good presenters, researchers, lecturers, professors, especially people that are involved in the same subject, that is to foster cooperation in order to achieve more sustainable futures. So we are here in this International One Planet Cabinet 2025 in this March 6th. I would like to skip the introduction because I have been presented before, and let's get straight to the point. Thank you a lot, because I have been invited for a lot of different conferences and events, especially during this after pandemic, like I used to say. Here is just a memory from our UNDP consultants while we were working together during the G20 Brazilian presidency in the period of G20 from February up to October in the year 2024. And as you can see, I'm here also with Professor Andrea Cabello, my very special colleague from the Brazilian university that I love the most, that is UNB. And I would like to come again to make an introduction, a very brief introduction, that there exists a pivotal role of climate change in addressing global climate change. And we really have to explore how tracking the social and economic impacts can enhance at one side the effectiveness, and in the other side at the same time the equity of climate change, climate finance initiatives. So there are some advantages of integrating comprehensive impact assessments into climate finance strategy. What for? To ensure that climate actions are both effective and just. And there is, if there is a problem with the prediction of the future, as Dr. Andrea just brilliant is stated as an economist, so we have to move ahead and try to track these climate finance with the frameworks that are as much as possible credible to our working as a researcher in our research environment. So there is a framework here to track. That means we first have to scope the landscape, then we have to define and set the framework, then we have to move to the data collection and verification, and we have to finally have a database consolidation, analysis, and presentation. So this is the basic of this role of introducing what we call a framework that is credible to our peers. And there is something that has been published in terms of ongoing domestic climate finance tracking initiatives that, as we can see, is experienced on a global perspective. So we have landscapes like here in Brazil and the whole Latin American Caribbean region. We have landscapes that have been pointed in Africa. We have landscapes that are in finance tracking initiatives in Europe. We have it in Asia and so far. So this is a climate policy initiative figure from the, and it's very actual from the this year 2025 from the climate policy initiative. So I will be able to share it with you during my presentation, and as usually I will put a link where you all can access and read and download this presentation in full. So there is a relationship between finance, climate finance, social equity, and economic growth. That this today actually does not only represent a serious threat to the planet and to the people, but climate change is also something that is threatening the global economics. So this is a little what we have saw before in the forums that we participated in the past and in the near past, and probably will be something that will be at the center of the table discussion in the upcoming conference that we will see. So this problem needs a public-private sector collaboration, of course, to deeply change the way we produce goods to other methods that guarantee and drive the development of sustainable economic growth. I will try to divide it in four important and key sections, and the section one should be the importance of tracking social and economic impacts. When we are talking about social impacts, so you can see a person here, And this social tracking impact ensures that climate initiatives benefit vulnerable, especially vulnerable communities, in order to promote social equity and resilience. And resilience, it seems to be a common word, no matter what kind of presentation we have here that is, minded with this social and economic impacts. We have really to foster a resilience, especially in vulnerable communities. And on the other hand, if we see there is a graphic showing a global number of employment, we will understand that the track of social plus the track of economic impacts will help to monitor economic impacts in order to optimize resource allocation, in order to foster again sustainable economic growth, and of course, to allow job creation. And this is, I believe, a complexity that we all embrace, no matter what kind of society we can talk about. Of course, I am a Brazilian. I am living in Brazil, and I will talk a little bit more about the impacts that we are suffering here in Brazil. But I believe we all can foresee what's coming in this near future. And when we try to have a block, and I have named it section 2, we can bring this discussion down up to our regional examples. And if we, in the case of Brazil, can address what I call sustainable agriculture and renewable energy, we will see a Brazilian commitment to sustainable agriculture and renewable energy as part of a strategy to meet these 2030 greenhouse gas reduction goals. This is a symbol, image that's it's a symbol of the greatest solar energy plant that we have, and is located in the state of Bahia, about 700, 800 kilometers from the capital, the beautiful city of Salvador. And what you see here below is the largest, solar plant, floatable solar plant that was built in the lake of a giant hydro plant in the state of Minas Gerais. And when we talk about regional examples and following the specific case of Brazil, another thing that we can add to the discussion is the sovereign sustainable bonds. And this was an object of discussion introduced by one of our presenters today. So Brazil has issued sovereign sustainable bonds to finance climate and social programs, and in order, of course, to balance those environmental and social priorities. This is a picture of the London Stock Exchange celebrating celebrating the Brazil debut with sustainability bonds. If we bring now this discussion to oversee what is going on in terms of Europe, we can talk about the Green Deal and the European Union Green Deal that aims to make Europe the first climate neutral continent by the year 2050. What Europe is conceiving a framework in order to drive innovation and sustainable growth. So there is a chart that exemplifies in the center what is the European Green Deal, and you can see all of these dimensions and the subjects that are related to build a framework like that. So that is ambitious, but of course this is something that the world deserves a lot. And if we track again some regional examples in Europe, we can of course bring to the discussion table what's going on in terms of a sustainable finance action with the Sustainable Finance Action Plan that integrates environmental, social, and governance, the ESG framework, considerations into the investment decision table. If we move forward and we talk about some regional examples in Asia, we can bring to this discussion, the climate risk and financial institutions, with this greening, with this great acceleration of the green infrastructure in Asia, as we can follow and track widely, especially with this, what things that are going around the major finance district that we have in Asia at this right moment. If we expand this discussion, continue to exemplify a little bit Asia, we will see also the ESG investing and the rise of this ESG investing influencing all the sustainable finance practice in order to, of course, at the bottom end, to promote a more responsible investment environment. So there is a chart stating what's going on in terms of Asia Pacific ESG investing market size in this period of 2018 up to the period of projections with up to the period of 2030 investment. So as you can see, it's a flow that is going up and up. And if we move ahead and we talk about our cradle of life, that is the Africa continent, we will see, of course, there is a climate finance and economic dependency, usually from Africa countries. But in this very moment, Africa faces unique challenges and opportunities if we consider the climate finance, including, of course, the need for regional integration and a more, let's say, large South-to-South cooperation. This South-to-South cooperation was at one point very expressed and expected during our G20 conversations, where I had the opportunity also, Dr. Andrea too, to be and to join in order to support and uphold the Brazilian presidency in the year 2025 in Brazil, but also as a preparation of what is going on in terms of G20 initiatives in this year, where South Africa is the country that is heading all these discussions. And when we go further again, and we have Africa, we are talking about once more adaptation and resilience. So by enhancing this climate resilience in African urban areas, we will have it to see and probably foresee that is crucial for supporting all this green development and mitigating climate risks. So there is a green infrastructure going on in South Africa, for example, today, but this is something that we can see right now in place, and we will probably foresee in this coming year, in this half decade period that goes from this year to today, 2025, up the year 2030. And of course, if we move to this data-driven insights in policy design, leverage data, we will enable policymakers to design targeted interventions that address both these environmental and the social economic challenges. For instance, using data to identify areas that are most vulnerable to climate change will help us all to prioritize funding for the adaptation projects that we have to uphold, that have already begun, and that are in place, just like this one I brought here in the chart to showcase, but of course, the further initiatives to come. And there are a lot of very good case studies that will challenge us with the successful climate finance project, such as the Green Climate Funds initiatives that will demonstrate the importance of tracking and reporting social and economic impacts to ensure all the project effectiveness and accountability that we are demanding for. And there is a final section 4 that is, of course, landing on transparency and accountability. So as much as we go further on this tracking social and economic impact, we have to uphold the more feasible and reliable reporting mechanism, because transparent reporting and accountability will build the stakeholder trust, and it is a win-win perspective of attracting investment. So regular impact assessments and public disclosure are essential for maintaining the credibility of and support of all initiatives. There is a framework that's called 5 phases of climate finance transparency that begins with the scoping, goes through the definition, and overpass the measurement and verification up to the point that we have here to apply the climate finance tracking results as an accounting as a positive accounting of the entire chain that is linked to this accountability mechanisms. And there is, of course, some global standards that are based in what I call core elements of recommended climate-related finance that will have the governance in as a large dimension or umbrella, and below this you will have, and integrated to this you will have a strategy, and integrated to this risk management, and integrated in the center the metric and targets. Of course, again, the role of higher education institution and climate research network is at a glance, and it's really very desirable, and we should rely on this. Some of these networks and some of the universities that are in place with my presence here, and the presence of Dr. Srividya, Dr. Andrea, and all the colleagues. These are some of that I'm a part of in this moment of my professional career and life. And of course, we come to a conclusion, integrate social and economic impact tracking into climate finance strategies is essential to achieve this transformative change. So we will have a gender dimension of development impacts, and we have to target, of course, in the middle of our discussion, in front of our table, the vulnerable populations, the local stakeholder dimensions to development impacts. So we have the social impacts that are experienced by people and communities, driving economic impacts in order to contribute to economic growth, the environmental impacts, and
You're mute.
Yeah.
Okay, I have been muted. Sorry. There is a call to action. We encourage all stakeholders to adopt comprehensive impact assessments in their climate financial initiatives in order to drive more inclusive, much more inclusive and sustainable development. No matter if they are already inclusive and sustainable, they have to be more inclusive and sustainable. So thank you again, Dr. Srividya and all its colleagues. Obrigado. Our projects are always open for your partnership and your sponsorship. So I will stop sharing this right now. And I have already put a link where you can access this presentation and download this presentation in full. Thank you for all that are sharing this opportunity in this morning, afternoon, and evening in our YouTube transmission channel too. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, Mr. Balaji, please,
Yeah,
I'll
thank
follow
you.
you.
Yes, doctor. And finally, we are now giving a shape as to how the whole thing is to be maintained and what are the impacts. What if the big question is always what will happen to the world if we don't really understand, as they say, unless you pull up your socks, So that really took us to the level where you've really shown the impact of the society, environment, and also the entity. And we are now in a world where we would like to buy the product of a company which is economically more sustainable, but at the same time, ecologically more sensitive to its profits. So that will always ensure that the share price is also affected by that. So the governance part was very brilliantly captured, Doctor. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dr. Srividya.
Yeah, thank you. And just few points to just add on to what Mr. Balaji said. Definitely, these efforts are underway to measure the progress that we all have a target to achieve. That is USD 100 billion target of climatic finance mobilization, more broadly, country-wise, locally, then country, and then internationally. So this definitely include the work which has been given as standing committee commitments on finance, that is in relation to the financing mechanism of the convention, in terms of improving coherence and coordination in the delivery of climatic change financing, definitely taking into account of all those instances, examples, and case studies which are being discussed on this platform. Rationalizing the financial mechanism is the key thing. So let's get on to when you take these examples, go on to the local community, go to the ground root level of that particular country and rationalize the financial mechanism part of it. Mobilize financial sources accordingly with the proper measurement and reporting and verification of the support that is being provided to all the countries. Thank you so much. So we are there with you with the biennial assessment and the overview of the climatic finance overviews as such that you have mentioned, covered almost all those that were more relevant from the French and the Peruvian governments with the capacities which were mentioned in COP21 and 20. Thank you so much. With the report of OECD. Thank you so much. On that note, may I request Madam Sandhya Balaji to welcome the next speaker on board. Thank you, Professor. Thank you. It's always a pleasure having you, and we would like to have you for more and more sessions. Thank you. Over to Madam Sandhya Balaji to welcome Ms. Shaima from Oman. Thank you.
Yeah, before I do my duty on that, the vitamin M always requires transparency. We need to report, verify, and measure, and all that to not just in one place or one country, but there has to be a transparency when it involves different countries in this digital world, and how we are going to make an impact in the developing countries is our next pointer. And to speak on that, I invite Dr. Shyama Hafiz Marikar, who is a master's in education, originally from Sri Lanka, but now lives in Oman. And she's the founder of Mind Faculty, and she's a certified trainer, and she's a skills development facilitator and an NLP and mindfulness master and practitioner. Welcome, ma'am. The digital dais is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sandhya Sri, for that beautiful introduction. And I would like to thank Dr. Srividya for inviting me for this conference, that G20 International One Planet Cabinet. It's my great pleasure and privilege to be part of this forum. And I would like to share my presentation here. Yes. Give me 1 second. All right. Is it visible now?
Yes.
Yes, I'm audible, right? Yeah, okay. So today, on this occasion, G20 International One Planet Cabinet, the topic given for me is in measuring, reporting, verifying, and extending support to developing countries. So as a science teacher, trainer, and this topic is really close to my heart, because while I was searching for some information towards this, I found it how important it is to know about these things, what's going around us, and how important it is to be informed and take action towards these things. Now let's talk about it. Before that, I'm going to show you what is my what am I going to share today? Firstly, I will be doing some introduction about what is COPE and what does it mean by MRV, and then why the COPEs are important in terms of climatic context, climate finance, and also MRV. What does it do? What is the role it plays? And I will summarize all these points in the conclusion part. Now, first of all, I would like to highlight here that what is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change? We say that UNFCCC, this was an initiative. It was taken place decades ago. We can say the ultimate objective of this UNFCCC is to stabilize greenhouse gas concentration in the atmosphere that would prevent dangerous anthropogenic interference with the climate system. So the main part is that they target within the time frame sufficient to allow ecosystem to adapt. So it was it has many guidelines, and it also has many thematic areas where they focus on what we can do collaboratively, at the same time what the developed countries have to do. Most importantly, guiding principles of this framework focus on equity, and then most importantly, common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities. We say CBDR and RC. This is the most important highlighted concept or guidelines of UNFCCC, and also how sustainable development can be done, and principal cooperation among countries. And also if you look at the thematic areas, what are the broader aspects of their focus is reducing CHG emissions and adapting to climate change, and giving support for implementation in terms of finance, technology development and transfer, capacity building for the developing countries. And mainly they say for the developing countries, they have different responsibilities. They should adopt national mitigation policies and provide new and additional financial resources for developing countries, assist developing country parties, particularly for vulnerable to climate and meeting cost and adaptation. Take all practical steps to promote, facilitate, and finance the transfer of technology. So these are the main concepts of UNFCCC. And let's look at what is MRV and what is the role of MRV in this UNFCCC. MRV is basically a tool which is used to measure the development and reporting and verification and etc. But before we look into what is it, what does it really mean for that stand for MRV means, we will look at how it's evaluation of it, because it's now UNFCCC or the climatic change we have been conducting nearly a decade. So let's look at the evaluation of it. So in the early stages, the concept of MRV emerged as a crucial component of the United Nations framework of climate change. The main purpose is to ensure transparency and accountability of climate action, which means that developed countries were expected to have more stringent MRV requirements. So if you highlight the major COPes, firstly, Bali action, we can say that COP 13, it was a significant step was taken in that COP, where Bali Action Plan emphasized the need for MRV for developing countries, paving the way for a more comprehensive framework. And then this marked the shift towards greater transparency in the climatic actions of all parties. So it was a significant event, we can say, in the history. And also we cannot forget about the Paris Agreement, which was still, we talk about it in all the COPs, because the Paris Agreement strengthened the transparency framework, establishing the enhanced transparency framework. We call it, the abbreviation is ETF, This framework aims to provide a clear understanding of climate in action and support, and with flexibility of developing countries. So Paris Agreement also in favor of developing countries, and it emphasized the importance of transparency of framework or the MRAB. And then ETF, that, or we can say enhanced transparency framework, it requires all parties to report regularly. That is the most important thing on their greenhouse gas emissions and implementations, what the action plan they have taken, how it is improved, or what steps that we have taken. So all parties, including all the people who have participated there, the countries, developed countries and vulnerable countries, all they have to provide a report. So those are the most key important milestones, I would say, and during the history, if you look at the COPs all these years. And the next one is, what does it mean by MRV? So MRV, which stands for measurement, reporting and verification, and it plays a crucial role in ensuring transparency and accountability, as I already mentioned. And in the particular context of climate action, it clearly shows how to apply financial flows, which country is giving to which country, how the fund is flowing, and how well it is distributed and how well it is used. And all this, it gives a proper recording. And also the technology transfer, how the developed countries helped developing countries in terms of technology transfer. And because developed countries are rich, they can help them out with the countries they need help, right? Because technology is rapidly evolving day by day. So countries like developing countries need more assistance in that. And also about capacity building initiatives, how well these capacity building initiatives take place, and the recording is maintained, and how so it gives them accurate for tracking. It gives accurate for tracking, like even whoever the people who gives, the countries who gives, and the countries who get from the benefits can have a clear understanding what amount is given, to which aspect it is given, to which area to given. So it helps with accurate tracking. So MRV systems establish standardized methodologies and also the protocols for measuring the amount of support provided. So this allows the precise tracking of financial contribution and technology deployments and capacity building activities. So for example, we can say that financial flows MRV can track the amount of fund disbursed and source of funding and which sectors it has been targeted. And also MRV requires the reporting of data. Most importantly, the R stands for reporting of data. So an information in a transparent and accessible manner, which means that it should be transparent, and people or the countries, developed countries, can be seen that they have recording to be seen that what has been given and what has to be, why it has been given, and how far they have went with that fund. And so this allows stakeholders to understand the support provided and its impact, and also include public reports detailing the recipients of funding, who's receiving it, and the types of technologies transferred. So, this shows that how the developing countries, they rely on developed countries not only in fund, and also in technological support and capacity building also. So let's look at the next thing. The MRV stands for verification. So verifications means it enhance to ensure the accuracy and reliability of reported data. So if the reported data is properly verified, that means that people or stakeholders get that confidence in them, right? So this helps to build trust and confidence for being support provided. And also verification, people might think that how we can verify it, and it can be done by independent auditors and also expert review teams. So verification is also the most crucial component of MRV, we can say. And also after this, all these MRVs, the important or crucial component of accessing to measuring this improvement. So it also gives understanding and support delivery. By providing clear and reliable data, MRV enables a comprehensive understanding of how support is being delivered. And when we know the things properly, accurately, and we know we can identify the gaps where it needs to be given again and in the future, and assess the effectiveness of initiatives and improve the future support efforts also. So in essence, we can see that MRV creates a system of checks and balances, ensuring that climate-related support is delivered effectively and efficiently. And when it comes to COPE, I would like to highlight the recent one, the 29, what crucial steps taken there, or what was highlighted there. The most important thing is with a central focus on climate finance. So COP29 brought it together nearly 200 countries in Baku. So there the most important focus was in finance. It was suggested like triple finance to developing countries from the previous goal of $100 billion annually. So it is a great achievement and great step for ahead. We can see so to $300 billion annually by 2035. So secure efforts of all sectors to work together to scale up finance to developing countries from public and private sources to the amount of 1.3 trillion per year by 2035. It's not a small amount, it's a huge amount, but it has been proposed there, and it has been proposed and most of the countries agreed, although some disagreements were there, but still it is a great achievement, we must say. And we hope that it will keep the clean energy growing, helping all countries to share in its huge benefits, especially like more jobs, stronger growth, cheaper and cleaner energy for all. That is the most fundamental expectation of this fund allocation. And for this, the International Energy Agency expects global clean energy investment to exceed $2 trillion for the first time in 2024. So we can say that COPs are important in terms of climatic change we are going to bring, because every year there is a significant change, there's a significant development. And with this, I would like to say that financial and technological assistance, the core principles of UNFCCC and Paris Agreement is that developed countries should provide financial, technological, and capacity building support to developing countries to help them mitigate and adapt to climate change. So this is the fundamental still remains so. So this support is crucial for enabling developing countries to implement their national determined contributions, we say NDCs, and build resilience to climate impacts. Now, all of the eminent speakers spoke about resilience here. So these are the fundamental things that we keep on saying under this COPs. And also the Global Environment Facility, or GEF, plays a significant role in providing financial assistance. And GEF, we can see the Global Environment and Green Global funds also there. So the various initiatives like mechanisms, these mechanisms are strengthening the MRV system and implementing climate actions. So recent COP meetings have heavily emphasized the need to increase financial flows to developing countries. So that is a huge step. And especially in the realm of adaptation, as in COP29, there are goals to greatly increase in the financial flows. And capacity, in terms of capacity building, what they have agreed. And it includes that training, technical assistance, and knowledge sharing to help developing countries enhance their ability to measure, report, and verify their climate action. Sometimes they need support because they are not developed as developed countries in terms of technology. And so they have to, even for MRV, to do a proper MRV, they need support. So that should be given, the capacity building should be given by the developed countries. And also the key consideration would be As I earlier mentioned, CBDRC, that's different, but everyone is not same. Everyone's part is same, but have the responsibility to contribute towards this climate action, but they have the different responsibilities. So remains this CBDRC remains the cornerstones of climate negotiation, recognizing the different circumstances and capabilities of country. So ensuring adequate and predictable support for developing countries is essential, as mentioned in the Paris Agreement. And other crucial components is transparency. Transparency builds trust and confidence. So transparent climate reporting made big strides towards forward in Baku, building a stronger evidence base to strengthen climate policies for over time, helping to identify financial needs and opportunities. So 13 countries, they have submitted their biennial transparency reports. It's we can say that's an important thing or milestone. So they shown exemplary for other countries to show their financial transparency so that they can move forward, right? So this is the important thing. We can say enhanced transparency framework, ETF reporting tools and technical trainings. The support were provided also to country to took place in 2024. That was also success. And the other important thing is Dr. Sri Kumar. Yes, it will take only 3 minutes more, right?
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yes. So total of yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Sorry. A total of 42 events were organized under the Together for Transparency. So transparency is the most important thing, so that people will more collaborate, initiative promotes they will take among stakeholders. And adaptation, COP29 was an important moment for adaptation with the delivery of several key outcomes that I have, as I already mentioned. So provision for the establishment of new support programs for local level for especially vulnerable countries. And this will be continuing 2025. That's also a huge important thing we can say. Also, many dialogues have been taken place for the high level and to make more innovative financial technical support excellent towards to the action made towards 2025. And the most important point I would like to mention here that in the COP29, the gender and climate change and many people from different parts of the world were included. So that was the first time. So it was a key point that people from indigenous people and the children, the youth, all were included in this. So their participation highlighted the importance of inclusivity and intergenerational collaboration in driving climate action. So with this, I would like to mention that though they may look like a different thing from our dream of combating this climate problem, climate things, but still every hope has brought may brought many disagreements and uncertainties, but still it has given a good momentum, or we can say that the light on the moving forward. So let's have more COPs collaborating with many countries and many people, stakeholders. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And yes, over to you, Dr. Srividya.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Shaima. That was really a brilliant presentation, and you had covered all those points. Mr. Balaji should excuse me for 2 minutes because I started, and so I'm going to finish it and then you can continue. Sorry. So as you rightly said, the key takeaways: regulated, transparent power arrangements, specific clean energy climatic incentives, general business friendly measures, innovating financial mechanisms, and the last one was early risk assumptions and to work on the risks. Thank you so much. The key takeaways, really, it was a brilliant presentation. Almost you covered all the points and making it more inclusive and a global. You have addressed it from the global point of view, not representing one particular country as such. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was a brilliant presentation indeed. Yes, Mr. Balaji. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Srividya. First of all, each of the speakers are actually bringing in one facet of it where it makes the whole book complete. So the chapter that she touched upon basically was the conference of parties, especially what happened in Baku. And I hope you will definitely agree with me that it was unprecedented. The meeting was not closed. It was supposed to end on a Friday, and then they officially extended it till the next Tuesday. They extended it by 4 days to achieve that extended funding support, which shows how serious people who are part of the whole discussion were about the financial commitment that should be placed by each of the countries, so that one hand doesn't really make things work. It is 5 fingers coming together to show the strength of a big arm that can convert greater task into an achievable proposition. So thank you very much for bringing that proposition, and the MRV part of it is also very relevant. We should really start measuring and then also do everything that is required to show the commitment as a community, which is part of the globe, not as an isolated individual small unit. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Much
May I
appreciated.
request Madam Sandhya Balaji to welcome the next speaker, Ms. Divya.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are. You can invite Ms. Pratiksha otherwise.
No. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
Divya
Divya
is
is
here.
here.
Yeah. So we are still talking about transparency, and we are yet to discuss about how to make this mechanism, financial mechanism, easier or better for of the UNFCCC in such a manner rationalized that everybody gets to access it and everybody can actually prepare themselves for a better financial mechanism, especially with relation to climatic finance. So to speak about that, we have here Ms. Divya Somani, who is insolvency professional and also a practicing chartered accountant with over 18 years of professional experience. She's also a company secretary. She's the first female chairperson of the Ajmer branch of ICAI, and she also has a credit of 2 books authored by her on insolvency exams, and also a qualification as a peer reviewer and forensic accountancy and fraud detection qualification to her. And it's my pleasure to welcome here Divya. The floor is yours.
Welcome, Ms. Divya.
Thank you, Dr. Srividya.
As usual, rock. Thank you.
Yeah.
There is some network issue at my end, so if I, skip in between, just make sure that it does not hamper the whole environment. But just for the sake of being, somewhat secure, I request, Ma'am Srividya, can you please put on the PPT which I shared with you from your side? You can share it with everyone. Are you sharing the screen?
I think you can share and begin.
Divya,
She will
you
have
can
a copy
continue.
of it. Yeah.
Probably you can share it in the screen so that one of us can pick up and then share if possible. So just take off.
Yeah, okay, because most of the speakers have already talked about the whole topic and they have already set the pace for it. Now, as we all understand that the main idea is that climatic situation of the world is not very good and it requires a lot of funds, basically. So it is not the criteria that only one country will stand for it or maybe the few leaders will go ahead for it. It should be a combined effort altogether. So since we already know that there are a lot of funds created already by the United Nations and there is a separate team altogether who's handling it, but still we cannot see a lot of progress. So based on that, I would, just suggest a few key points because my topic is basically about that only. And meanwhile, I request Srividya, Dr. Srividya to just share the screen so that we have the pointers highlighted for everyone. You all can see that also. So just to have a brief summary to start with, the various funds which are already there, they are not being made aware to most of the countries. It may happen that on theoretical side they are knowing that these are the funds, but again, to put it in a more practical way, these funds are not being utilized. I mean, the strategy should be, firstly, every country should be made aware that these are the funds which already are established, and at any point of time, the people therein can use these funds. So whosoever is interested, they may apply for that and they can utilize the funds. So basically, there has to be a portal altogether wherein all the countries should be there, and a proper ranking and monitoring should be there. So which country has actually utilized the fund, which country has contributed to that fund, because again the fund requires to be again and again, it has to be put in the to make it fully usable for everyone. It has to be recouped again and again. So again, I mean, there should be sources of funds into that broader category. There should be sources of funds and then utilization of funds. Both the things should simultaneously go. And there has to be a proper committee to regulate all those tasks. It should not be a one-time affair, maybe annually or so, which might be happening nowadays. It requires a regular frequency, like maybe monthly meetings, and there has to be a separate committee at each country level, and they should be made responsible also by the things which are set, or the targets which they are being given, they are not being they are not doing up to the mark. So still now what we have done, or what has been done, is just that every country has been given some targets, but again no one is monitoring whether they are actually doing it or not. They are just meeting and just sharing the in and out things, and nothing actually being implemented as per looking into the current situation. So what I would suggest from my end is there has to be a proper fund allocation. So both the things has to be there. It should be very much easy for any of the applicants who want to go directly to that portal, and they can apply it on their own. Some initiative should be taken from the United Nations itself to give incentives to those people who are really working out for it. So, as Balaji sir also mentioned it, that voluntary carbon credit market will soon be gaining a lot of importance in the coming scenario. So, whosoever is already working on it, we must try and focus about those aspects, and those people should be given much more importance, and their live case studies should be portrayed or should be focused on that particular portal itself. So that is like success stories we normally see of those people. So again, this will highlight the country specific, that this country is very much using all these options which are available already, and thereby they are helping the whole world by creating a good impact on the climatic change altogether. So again, as earlier speakers also mentioned, that proper monitoring has to be there. There is also a requirement of audit also. So whatever fund is being allocated, maybe to the countries or any person specific, a regular monitoring in the manner of audits or any other assistance if they want, yeah, I mean the hand-holding support if they require, that should be given. So again, there has to be a separate innovation hub kind of thing which should be there at the portal itself. So whoever wants a hand-holding support, they may apply to it, and they can be regularly monitored, and they can be actually doing what is required for the betterment of the climatic change as such. Then again, there has to be a tracker, what I suggest, because all these funds are there. It's not that we are short of funds or something. And the developed nations are already contributing a lot of from their side, but the finance itself won't satisfy or won't solve the solution, won't provide any solution. So what we need now is proper action from each and every country. So first is to make everyone aware that there are some kinds of funds which are available for each and every country. We should allot them some targets, and whosoever is taking initiative for that should be incentivized. And again, proper monitoring and some tracker sort of thing should be made available. Proper ranking should be there on the portal itself, country wise, so that we can actually see which country is making more efforts into this whole climatic change thing. So again, the youth should be made more and more aware, because they are now into this habit of having the gadgets and other things. So everything should be made available on their mobile. So different kinds of things should be put in the social media itself, so that even the youth is more aware that climatic change is the real necessity nowadays. It is of utmost action which we should take care. So whosoever is doing any kind of startup business or having any innovative idea, they can directly approach for these kind of funds. As we already talked about, various funds are there. So if even the country specific is not maybe helping them out, they can directly reach to a global level. So it should not be that they are confined to their confined for the funds only to their country specific. Rather, they can even go at the global level and seek funds from there. And the same strategy can be replicated in various other countries. So what we can do is we can have a pilot project at some place, and if it goes well, the same can be replicated at various places. And the person's success story should again be highlighted to make him, more he should or that person should feel that really I have done something great for the world as such. So again, awards should be given to those persons, or maybe there has to be a week yearly phenomena of giving the awards also. So this ranking, this award ceremony and everything will create a environment wherein people will look this thing more seriously. So it is not just about the financing, but we must actually work upon it now. It is high time that we must take action from our side. And thereby, what we can do is we can simply not could I could do justice without the PPT. But again, a lot of incentives are required to actually put this thing into place. So there are countries which are actually doing this, but that is again at a very shorter level. If you see the world as a whole, it will not create much impact if these individual things are happening. We need to have some great boost for this whole thing to happen now. So that is it from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Divyaji. Wonderfully said. You actually created the right avenue for people to think how the whole thing should be implemented. As you said, for the good efforts, people must be rewarded. And what could be the yardstick for that? Transparency. As you could see, one of the greatest challenges for the voluntary carbon market is suppose I as an entity has consumed so much of the fund, then Balaji's company should be marked as not to be funded for the same thing by others. So that duplication is one of the biggest challenges that this whole carbon funding is actually facing. But very soon we are evolving with so many standards, and India is not to be seen behind. We are actually putting up our own markets, where by 2026, we will have a robust voluntary or rather carbon market in place. So to see how the world is evolving more is something that is being discussed by Divya is very much within the realms of achievable thing. Yes, OECD already has proposed a specific environment-related tax, direct tax to be imposed on entities which are breaching the regulation or not contributing to the development of the environment goal of the United Nations as a whole. So you have very much got the right thing gotten the people's mind here, Divya. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Srividya.
Doctor, you're on mute.
Because it's Divya there again. Well, we all know that when it's from Divya, how much ever time, minimum time I'm giving her, she will still prove that, yes, this is Divya. You can never shake me up. Thank you so much. When we talk about the main key important point, and Divya, can I tell you something? You are the only speaker for pointer 2. Yeah.
That's great to know.
So
Well
that's
done.
really commendable indeed. Thank you. And I don't know, like I'm really running out of words because there was mind-blowing inputs which has come from different people, and such that when we talk about finance, we all know that end of the day, it is only the people who are managing the whole will manage the finance part of it. As such, I'm not prejudiced over, I'm not bringing the gender disparity here, but kindly excuse me. But still, I would say Mr. Balaji is getting it on his nose there. But still, brilliant,
So,
brilliant.
very
brilliant.
happy to be part of it. Yes, we need to acknowledge talent, merit. It is not to be equated with gender. And luckily, March 8th is beyond us, so we need to wait for one more year for that.
Yeah. That's really brilliant. Very kind
Yeah.
of you. Thank you, Divya. Thank you for making it. And we have got one more student who has been waiting patiently right from the beginning to present herself, to make her voice heard here. So, Pratiksha, with due apologies and sincere apologies from all our side, please go ahead and introduce yourself and just rock the show.
Yes,
The
as
floor
her
is all
name
yours.
suggests,
Yeah.
Pratiksha, that means hope. So she's giving a lot of hope for herself as well as for us as well. Thank
Pratiksha
you.
means waiting. So she has been waiting so long.
Yeah, she has been waiting so long, but she
Yeah.
didn't give up. She didn't give up. She said, okay, how much ever time is, even I'm the last. And it's always a very difficult thing to come in the last, like last speaker. But definitely you're not the latest speaker. Definitely go ahead and drop the show, and it's all yours, Pratiksha. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Actually, I want to tell like my name represents waiting. Actually, from since I'm named, I was waiting until waiting again. And okay, I won't make more time, so let me get into the point.
Thank you, dear.
Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Pratiksha from Sri Isha College of Engineering, and today I will be discussing why building resilience to climate shocks is not just important but a necessity for our future. First, I'll explain about all my topics from the basics, then I'll go with the climate finance. So, first, the urgency of climate resilience. Like climate change is no longer a distant threat, it's affecting us now. Like according to the IPCC, over 3.3 billion people lives in areas highly vulnerable to climate change. We have all seen the devastation caused by floods, droughts, wildfires, and hurricanes. Climate resilience means preparing for, responding, and recovering from these shocks. Our goal today is to explore how we can strengthen our ability to withstand these extreme events. Next, what are climate shocks? Like climate shocks refer to sudden extreme weather events that disrupts ecosystems, economies, and societies. Example includes typhoons, wildfires, heat waves, rising sea levels, and desertification. These shocks are becoming more frequent and intense due to global warming, making resilience a top priority. Impacts of climate shocks on different sectors. Like these effects of climate shocks are widespread, like agriculture, health, infrastructure, and economy. Crop failures lead to food insecurity, heat waves, and water scarcity increase disease outbreaks. Homes, roads, and power grids are frequently destroyed, and climate disasters cause job losses, higher insurance costs, and poverty cycle. The need of climate resilience. Like resilience involves adaptation, not just mitigation. While mitigation addresses the root cause of climate change, adaptation ensures survival. government, communities, and individuals all have roles to play in developing resilience strategies. Government policies for climate resilience. Like government must implement national adaptation plans like developing resilient infrastructure and establish strong disaster preparedness strategies. This includes early warning system and urban planning that accounts for climate risk. Community-led resilience strategies. Communities plays a crucial role in resilience, like local disaster response plans tailored to specific risk help in preparedness, and indigenous knowledge such as water conservation method and the land management practices has long been a valuable resource for adapting to a climate shock. So some real world examples like Pakistan floods during 2022. In 2022, devastating floods in Pakistan affected 33 million people, causing $30 billion in damages. The disaster highlighted the need for better early warning systems, resilient infrastructure, and stronger disaster preparedness measures. And I've done some case studies like Netherlands flood management. The Netherlands is a global leader in flood resilience. Its Delta Work system, a network of dams and barriers, has successfully protected the country from severe flooding. Their investment in coastal defense and water management is a model other flood-prone regions. Then the other one is like Bangladesh cyclone shelters, where Bangladesh has reduced cyclone-related deaths by building storm-resistant shelters and implementing an effective early warning system. This case proves that proactive system planning saves lives. Then Kenya's solar powered water pumps. In Kenya, solar power water pumps provide water security in drought-prone areas by reducing reliance on erratic rainfall. These pumps helps community build resilience against climate-induced droughts. The last case study is about like community forest management in Nepal. Nepal community-led forest management has helped prevent deforestation, protecting against landlines and floods. This approach shows how environmental conservation and disaster resilience go in hand. Next, let's see about, excuse me, ma'am. Do you want to say something?
I've got 3 minutes more to end the session. Automatically it will get so.
Okay, ma'am,
completed.
I'll try to complete within that. Okay, ma'am. Next, just a minute. Role of technology in climate resilience. Like technology plays a critical role in building resilience. Like AI-driven early warning system predicts disasters, and the renewable energy ensures sustainable recovery efforts, and smart agriculture with drought-resistant crops help maintain food security. Next, the role of international cooperation. Like climate resilience requires global efforts. The Paris Agreement and UN climate summits emphasize international cooperation. Climate finance and global partnership ensure developing nations receives support for adaptation. Next, we'll come to the point like funding climate resilience. Uh, the Green Climate Funds provides financial aid for climate adaptation projects. Then climate insurance schemes also help vulnerable communities recover from a disaster. Additionally, like public-private partnerships, triple P's, collaboration between government and private entities can mobilize funds for large-scale resilient projects. And carbon markets like selling carbon credits can generate revenue to fund climate adaptation initiatives. And green bonds dedicated financial instrument used to raise capital specifically for projects that address climate change and enhance resilience. Local funding mechanism. So community-based saving groups or cooperatives can pool resources to invest in localized resilient projects. Then the role of individuals. Each of us can contribute by reducing waste and using renewable energy, support climate-friendly policies, building resilient local communities through sustainable practices. So the future of climate resilience. Looking ahead, we need sustainable cities built to withstand climate shocks, AI-driven climate modeling for better predictions, and the climate education to prepare younger generation for future challenges. So let's call to action. Resilience is not an option, it's a necessity. Governments must strengthen policies, business must innovate for sustainability, and individual must take actions. Together we can build more resilient future. So let me conclude with this. So let's commit to make resilience a priority. Thank you for your time all.
Brilliant. Resilience is not an option, it's a necessity. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you. Thank you. May I take this platform to say that Ms. Pratiksha is open to work and anybody would like to really take her into fold, as she is very patient, very talented, and very optimistic. And she says she's very resilient. She didn't give up, as we have seen right in the session. So she's open to work, and so I would welcome anybody who would like to really consider for an opportunity. Thank you so much. And definitely, I'm moving ahead. Yes, Mr. Balaji, only 1 minute, okay? Please.
Yeah. So Pratiksha, just to put things in perspective, waiting means Kathirippu, not Pratiksha. Pratiksha means hope. So you need to get to know that you're not a student, you are a scorcher, you've set the whole thing ablaze with some fantastic discovery from your end, especially with the fact that we are looking at wildfires taking place without anyone knowing why it is taking place. Especially in some parts of Australia, it's really making a lot of things very difficult for the normal human life. Yes, you have touched upon all the points in a brilliant manner. What more can I say? I hope that you get a fantastic career, especially out of it, because this is going to be the next big thing everywhere. Climate funding, how it is going to be done, how entities need to reform itself to make things known to them, sourcing of its material, whether it's coming from sustainable activity pursued by companies, etc. So yes, that's it. That's all about it. And as ever, dazzling Dr. Srividya Sukumaran, thank you so much for the great opportunity and then bringing together all the fantastic people in one roof to make things, so much things to be learned in each of these sessions. And it wouldn't have been possible without your Midas touch all the way. Thank you very much.
There is one more request on that Midas touch. Next week, we have net zero, please. We need that ready 1, 2, 3, go to set the net zero on fire, please.
Yeah, when they, of course, yes, that's
Same
right. Thank you
time.
very much. The
Thank you
pleasure
so
is all
much.
ours.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye.
Ms. Sandhya. As usual, you are such a
Thank you.
wonderful host. Pratiksha and everyone, I would say, like, I don't want to miss anybody in the mention as it is. So as we were mentioning, next week we are here. We are going to gather again to talk about net zero, the road to net zero, etc. So let's pull on our sleeves to talk about the net zero. Our presidency is with Net Zero Dynamics. We are going to cut greenhouse gas emissions, and also in a more possible way, with any remaining emissions can be absorbed from the atmosphere by oceans and forests and oceans. That's the question. And so we'll have more wonderful speakers. The coming week, we're going to talk about biodiversity as a strong natural defense against the climatic change, World Heritage no-go commitment. The following week, we'll have loss and damage, the moral imperative to act, not sparing out digital innovation, which is going to be on the 23rd of April, and entrepreneurship and MSME is going to be on the 20th of April as such. And then like global financial architecture and international growth is going to be another one. And the international taxation is going to be one, which is going to be followed by celebrate the world's heritage and the culture and the tourism with One Health quadripedite, one Education 360, women empowerment to the empower to lead one planet with Yuva Go Global and Shakti Spectrum. Last but not the least, engage, explore, enhance our planet Earth for a sustainable living, which is going to sum up to the Addis Ababa Action, AAAA. There we are with UNESCO's SDGs. Thank you so much. On that note, may we extend a warm A sincere gratitude to all our community partners there, not to miss anybody in the mention, Global GSF and Global Sustainable Futures, International Internship University, IAU, International Research and Creativity University, Institution of Green Engineers, IGEN, Good Vision Saver Trust, and IGEN Green Engineers, Amity University, Dubai, SRM Group, SRM College of Engineering, Ishwari College of Engineering, SIRAM Group of Institutions, Dr. MGR Education Institution and Research Institute, Sri Ishwar College of Engineering, SRM Group of Institutions, Tiruchirappalli, St. Xavier's College of Engineering, Ishwar Engineering College, Jain Institute of Engineering, Gracious Foundation, and Green Brigade, Universal Human Values, and thereby Global Foundation for Peace. Thank you so much. Thank you all, community partners, and those
Goodbye.
eminent speakers who are there, and our backstage boss, Mr. Niranjan. Thank you. Thank you for all the support. And definitely, and all those attendees who are there, who have joined us through YouTube, you can claim your certificate through your registration. Mr. Niranjan would have done the part himself. And thanks for all those brilliant speakers of today with key takeaways. Finance is as long as you are going to hold your pocket. And if you're going to let it loose, it's going to splatter everywhere. So let's keep it within our thumb and just direct it as we go. If you want to have a correct flow, you need to direct it very clearly. Am I right, Mr. Balaji?
You're absolutely right. Spot
Thank
on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Ms.
Bye-bye.
Sandhya. Thank you so much. It
Thank
was
you,
always
Sandhya.
a pleasure. It's always a pleasure
Niranjan.
working with you, Niranjan.
Thank you. And all
Thank
the viewers out there. Thank you. Bye.
And thanks to IGEN, Dr. Ramesh and Madam Renuka Thakur, and every single institution, we have got people who have been representing, and all those coordinators who have been working and bringing us speakers on stage. Definitely we owe a sincere thanks to each one of you. And it's always a pleasure. We can't wait to have one more Sunday to come. Today is only Sunday. Anyway, we'll have to wait for next week. 7 days more to go. That's right. Sure. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you, Niranjan.
Hello, ma'am.
Thank you.
Message lastly நீங்க பார்க்கலல.
This is so odd. You have to see, I'm in the iftar function. If I'm going to pull the, I'm just busy with the crowd. I can't say that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Hope
okay.
it went on well. And a recording link I'll post. Yeah.
நான் லிங்க் பண்ணிடுறேன்.
Thank
நைட்
you.
குள்ள அனுப்பிச்சுறேன். Okay, ma'am.
Thank you, dear. Bye. Lovely.
Yeah, ma'am.
Bye. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.